Somebody's got to get an ad in there. I know. Fucking worst. So, real quickly up here, I got a couple of things I'm running real hard at the moment to my new Grimoire. This is going to be a fun one, boys. So, what we're going to get into about why these map lines are super critical is because Hancock has its own cost ratios later. Just this area into before, this is its own budget, town tax, school tax, stuff like that, where at that scale, you're going to be really into it quite a bit, relative to, come on, I know. Back to some of the road maps relative, because this is great for just getting through an area to close to towns where actually the hubs are, but these things have housing systems, how many schools that they have, and you're going to have to calc that later. So I wanted to get just in here real quick. Now again, we're starting with the very largest macro. You got to know some global stuff. Seasonal wave functions are definitely going to matter. Winter in Russia. Okay, what symbol are you in for Sigma right now? Well, dealing with the demonic circle on this thing that's actually got protection from flood and water, the trident on here from Solomon's Seal here. Given the Vitruvian Man, and I wish I did this with a little bit better scale. I mean, it works because calculus will work, but I actually wish I had 69 inches or 33 or 34, and actually gave that 34 and 34 would have given me 68 inches, close enough inside here, minus some hair. And the hair on the inches here for the angle, the dangle you're dealing with, specifically while this conversational model comes up. Now, with that said, I like map making. You always got a map with you. Of the world, where you're from, mark your feet, buddy. Tell me where you're from, and we can get to this later on about what numbers the scale system is relative to you. Now, obviously, county, United States budget relative to the world budget are two different things entirely. We're going to get into that. We're going to build in steps before we get to another version here in a second. Relative to New York counties, and specifically the road maps there, where I get into specifically Delaware County, the major towns, something in there, and we'll go ahead and add something in here. I don't want to mask those out. Here's just to put one word in. Now maybe I change the scale, or I do something, or I just want to clean this up so I have those clean indexes for region. Now, if they're close enough together like this, I can kind of generally tell you, alright, that's in the neighborhood, it's going to go through a few, and realistically, I don't care. So you're going to need some basic keys. And then once I'm done with Delaware here, clean this up and pretty it up a little bit, Delaware County, we're actually going to get back into some macro and micro stuff of, okay, so here's New York, obviously. Then we're going to slip into something from the county. Now, obviously, we already did New York. We'll get the county, and then we're going to need to bust that again to just the local regioning on that. Now, I'm right on the border right here, so I'm right onto Broome almost. There's a Pennsylvania border down here about what county you might be in. But realistically, for my net on a 45-minute drive, I really don't need to do that unless I'm out here, in which case I'll be glad I have this map and what standards I'm dealing with to help me kind of converse. Okay, that's that. And then, working with my app on my phone, going at it. Shit out of there. Alright. So when we're done with that, we're actually going to take that down to actually Hancock. And then, I'm going to do some fancy stuff with you. Hang with me. A lot going on before we get it over there. To Hancock to actually site maps. Here's Guston Stone. It's the overhead on Guston Stone. Mark your feet. What quadrant of that building are you in? Now, for me, I was in a few places. I was specifically I would have been over here in this section relative to picking rocks at this very specific location. And we don't need to do it just on jobs, but jobs are going to be useful and interesting later for safety analysis and other things like that. But equally to an overhead of the guillotine building at Guston's, and again, when I'm out on site, this is even tighter to really getting down and in it on those things. And once we have that, then we can start to talk about Euler's numbers from those positions, Ingling angles, and different spectrums from those values about what those company stations are doing, and ladders. Time and distance, direction and distance in land nav are critical as azimuths that you'll use, but remember, what usually happens is X, Y, and Z in calculus. You can watch those generals talk about multi-battle dimensions, or multi-battlefield dimensions, or, you know, whatever I got quick up and handy here. What do we got? Find one real quick here. I know I've been jamming it out while yeah, here we go. So this is multi-domain battlefields. Now, what I want you to understand is that this is essentially a M2 calculus class. Now, one of the things most important it drives me crazy with calculus teachers because there's no real. And I'm not going to say that there's not any real here. The description on the way he's describing it is a calculus design in M2, but without MN, Bernoulli's X's to kind of correlate to an active battlefield. Let's look at the class. Is this one of those classes that is actively set to do that? That matters. And inside of that concept, there's still nothing to really kind of tell you this is what the house is, this is an Apple, FMA, and he's going balls out through it. You're just going to have to expect off of the clipboard in your hand and any time note from you starting this and recording it at the same time to kind of go back through this. We have the luxury of using YouTube for this, and I forget here we go, this guy. Using Facebook and social media to help you do some of this material is really nice. I mean, having this kind of stuff is a big deal because you're going to start dropping percentages and steps in a hurry. 85, 85, 85, and then you're going to catch something like this that actually absolutely dumps your performance down to what he started with was a couple of steps, 83% or 90%, 90%, give you 80%, or 70% or whatever the ratio is there, and he misses big on it. Actually 0.25% is his total yield out of the end of this. You can miss big in this kind of stuff because, you know, we're missing steps inside here given the good general up here about this calculus class they're teaching and what exactly I'm trying to get as a product as an end result. So I want you to guys keep that stuff in mind while we're talking about how to turn ideas into reality from this E environment sigma from certain scales. When I was telling you that shift isn't exactly correct, or I forget exactly how I worded it in the beginning here, but these E2s are Euler's numbers from the stone mill, and from that I can graph off of these index and then begin to see, oh, that's where I've had a problem. That's a new problem. How do I begin to take on that battlefield? Because this gravity is going to put you down and stop that stuff from ever happening. It's going to make this communication almost impossible to really be able to describe because it gets caught in all this calculus stuff that's not coming up in calculus. Let's talk about X, XY, durium, hydrogen, tritium reactions, and this being fusion. Right now, he's telling you a topic of 800 collisions a second in Fermilab of calcium, the bones, and plutonium. You guys are the reaction. He's just shooting it at you, and we're trying to make fluvium here. It seems to work. The game is to improve it. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at with you guys right now, and I want you to keep that stuff in mind when you're talking about your leisures and stuff like that. Across the big scale, this stuff is definitely worth it. So, catch you on the next one.